one gorilla versus 100 men.
It's so easy.
Who
dude.
wins?
Humans.
Yeah, dude. We're beating his ass.
Yeah, I'm glad. I was on the gorilla train for about a week, and then I saw all of these like animal experts
50
come out, and they're
humans
like,
are beating a gorilla.
I think you gotta have 100 humans that are about that life. Like you can't have like 40.
if you
people or
do
30
average
people that are like,
humans, I would
don't
say
know.
no.
Yeah.
If you
It's
do
still
like
humans.
specimens,
No, it's still humans.
okay, so you're telling me if you duplicated me by 100,
Yes, you would beat
we're
a
gonna be.
gorilla.
I disagree.
100%
I would
agree.
highly disagree.
How much
with
you
that.
weigh?
The other question is the gorilla.
155, 160.
So times that by 100.
How big is a gorilla?
400, 450 pounds.
Yeah. Tyler, I went to Minnesota.
Yeah,
I
what's that?
think it is the most underrated city in America. I think it's a great city. Top tier, I would say. One of the best cities I've seen.
How's the
We'll get a
food?
chance to go back.
What's like a
Food?
what is Minnesota known for, like, food wise?
I don't even know. I had like
Some
normal restaurant food. I didn't have.
That's my only. I could
Anything
just see it
insane.
being like standard, typical, like American.
Walleyes like big there.
I
for
love
fish. I mean, you land at 10,000 lakes, so you've got all types of freshwater fish there. First, I got some crappie there, crappie, however you want to pronounce it.
Crappy.
So I guess we can kind of hop in a little bit. Let's talk schedule because I know that's the big thing that's on the horizon here this week. Schedule release comes out Thursday. I think it's like 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll find out the full schedule. There's been a couple leaks, appetizers here and there about what's going to happen. One of the things is the Vikings playing in London and Ireland, or Ireland and London, back-to-back weeks. First team ever to have back-to-back international games, back-to-back weeks. So that is kind of a precedent that I think they're going to carry on with, and I would imagine the Vikings will probably have their bye week, week 6. That would be my best guess. But your wedding, Matt, is October 4th. The Vikings are playing in London against the Browns on the 5th, which means Vikings-Ravens is not going to be on your
Thank
wedding
God.
weekend, which means we will be going to that game. So
I am
that's what
on
wanted to start with.
huge NFL schedule watch because of that wedding. Because me and my fiance said if they play at home the next day, we will be there anyway. So we don't leave for a honeymoon till the day after. But yeah, I mean, I thought Jacksonville had back-to-back London games though. Did they not? Is this back-to-back international in different cities or
Different countries. Different countries. Yeah, that's what it is.
I think it gives a huge advantage to Minnesota. I mean, you get used to the time. You don't have much of a flight. Basically, as scheduled. You saw it last year with Jacksonville. I think they actually beat, I forget who it was. Maybe it was Buffalo or somebody, but they stayed back-to-back weeks, and they said that they
Bears.
felt like it was, maybe, I feel like the Bears dominated that game. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I don't know, but I just remember a lot of the players saying that was a huge advantage just to get the international games out of the way. And they got to see a whole bunch of stuff that maybe they couldn't see throughout the week because you're trying to adjust. So I think it's good for Minnesota. Whoever has to go against them, I feel like they are at a huge disadvantage. So
Steelers in Ireland on week 4, and then
the
week
first game
5,
won't be an advantage.
and then week 5 is the Browns, which
Yeah, that's a huge advantage for Minnesota, even though it's the Browns. But
and it's 2 quote unquote road games, so the Vikings don't have to use a home game to go to either one of those, which I think is big as well, because you're also taking away 2 home field advantages, 2 road atmospheres that you would have been going to in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and now putting them international. So I think it really helps out the Vikings schedule for sure.
I hate international games. I hate them so
I
much.
kind of like the 9 a.m. slate.
I
Dude,
hate
it's
getting up
8:30 here.
early. I hate watching them. I feel like the product suffers. I feel like the games aren't as good.
Well, because they always have terrible games because they're not going to send the best games to international. That's just not going to – I mean, it might at some point. I think they want to get to that point.
next year, the Rams are playing in Australia.
Yeah.
So keep a lookout on that, because I have no idea what time that game is going to be.
What do you guys feel like if the Super Bowl went international?
Absolutely.
Well-
not. That's America's product. No.
I agree.
with Noah. I think that it's to the point now where, like, it doesn't really matter as much, and here's why: is because the common man can't go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's
anymore.
like $8,000
Yeah, but
for
just
a ticket.
But
Well,
I think
also
but
the
I think
timing of the Super Bowl and
Yeah.
everything else, it won't have that Super Bowl feel unless it's in a city in America.
I do think that the like Super Bowl week, like everything from media day up until the game, I think is always a very big event for those teams, for those fans, for those cities, that are hosting. Like, you go down to New Orleans, you're going down on Sunday, and if you don't go to the game, you're still there for a whole week to partake in all those festivities and everything. If it's international, I guess you can still do it. But yeah, it probably doesn't have the same flair. Like if you put it in London, it's like London doesn't really give a They're going to be more concerned about what Premier Leagues are going on, Premier League games that week, than they are going to be what's going on with the Super Bowl.
We're going to eat some fish and chips before the Super Bowl. Get that shit out of
Some
here.
beans, some beans and biscuits or whatever.
Get out of here.
You get what? There's a
beans and
TikTok
toast.
account.
Beans and toast.
There's also a TikTok account that makes baked potatoes,
Spud
and they
Bros.
put beans in. Yeah, bro.
Beans and
Never-
tuna.
No chance. Some people say it's really good, but I guess if
sure
that's
British
your way,
people do.
I'm not a big tuna guy. So
I like tuna if it's like fresh tuna. Like if you
so
give
you
me,
don't like it out of the package?
I mean, I'll eat like a tuna fish sandwich or something. Like if balling on a budget, that's what I'm doing. But like I'd much rather have a chicken salad sandwich than a tuna salad or a tuna melt or something.
Tyler's
like
the
that.
type to come to work like in person and bring tuna and then
No,
stink up
dude,
the
you
entire
never
freaking
bring
thing,
the
dude.
fish. You never bring fish to the office. That's like office protocol 101 there. You
I'd
never
be picking
do
up
that.
hibachi at work and bringing that shit into the break room.
Oh, see, that would smell good.
Yeah, that's different. And especially get that shrimp. I think shrimp's like the only fish or shellfish that would be acceptable, I think, in there. Maybe a crab cake just because, Maryland. But real quick, other international games, because we were talking about how dog shit they were. Broncos, Jets, Rams, Jaguars, Falcons, Colts, Commanders, Dolphins.
Poop,
All ass.
poop.
All
I could
ass.
see Commanders,
Dolphins.
That'd be
It could
Very
be.
good. But we know it's going to be ass. Like, it feels like it's not two contending.
Do you know why
playoff
I'm going to
teams
watch
in
those
reality.
games? Because in one league, I'm going to wake up and have Trevor Lawrence playing, so I'm going to have to watch him that week. And then
Yeah,
another
I'm
week,
so
I'm going
sick
to
of
have
the Jags,
Jalen
man.
Waddle, and I'm going
Well,
to
the
have to watch
Jags
them
have it
play.
because of their owner.
There was talks about them moving to London. I don't even know if I think at this point, I think they are going to bring a team over there. I just don't know the logistics on how that will work.
I don't know. I
hope
could
not.
see a team being in
Hope not
Mexico
either.
or Canada before I see London.
Mexico City would make a lot of sense.
or
but
Toronto.
Could you imagine
Vancouver.
too? So like, obviously the NHL has like, there's like probably how many Canadian teams? There's like
Third
six
of the
or there's a 6 or 8.
There's more than that.
Edmonton. Anyways, however many there are, like getting visas required to play. Like imagine like Tyreek Hill getting traded mid-season to the Edmonton Wolves and like not being able to play because he didn't get his visa in time. Like it would just be that's what the Hurricanes had. They brought a guy over from the Russian league, and he couldn't play in the first playoff series because they couldn't get his visa ready in time.
Underrated aspect, yeah. Speaking of London, I think one of the things that would be that I could see happening, maybe not, in the next 2 years, so we saw Washington got the 2027 NFL draft. I could see London possibly hosting a draft in the coming years, maybe 5-8 years, something like that.
Nobody's going to like. So
The
I
NFL
went.
is going to make it a spectacle every year now.
I know, but I understand they're trying to bring the NFL to other countries, but at the same time, I was on a cruise during that NFL draft, and there were plenty of bartenders that were from out of the country, and they had no idea how busy it was going to be. They have no idea what the NFL draft is. Like, none of them.
Well, that's
do.
bad planning by the ship then, to not have all more staff available than not, because you should know what the events are that people from America are going to watch.
No, I agree with you, but they just have no idea. Like I just don't see the NFL would be pushing the limits by doing the draft. I think that would be
I think
my
it's
breaking
different.
point.
I think it depends on where in the world, and that's why I know they're trying to expand. But like, if you go to Europe, I feel like, England, I would say Ireland, I would say Germany. I mean, they're going to be in Madrid this year. I would say that those 3, 4, or 5 countries would actually be aware of what's going on in the NFL. But if you're going to like Costa Rica or like Dominican Republic even, or like some of the Caribbean countries, they probably don't know as much. Like they probably don't have as much of a grasp or really even care as much, I would say.
I don't even think most of those other countries care. You hear like European countries talk all the time about how football is better
It's forced on them.
than football. Yeah. And like Australia, they love rugby. They don't like American football.
Rugby's big, dude. Rugby is
insane.
big.
Keep it for America.
What were some other locations that you got, hypothetical locations for the draft? Like, where would you guys either like to see or could see the draft being in like the next, 2028, 2029, and 2030 have yet to be decided. So, like in the next 5 years, where could you see it being?
I think personally the best draft ever, and I was not there, but I knew multiple people who went. They said Nashville was the number one location it's ever been, and multiple news outlets or reporters said it was the best draft of all time. And I am surprised that it's not scheduled to go there again anytime soon, at least for now. But I would like to see it in Nashville again just because of how great people said it was. I've been there. I love it there. So I would love to go to a draft there. I just feel like Broadway and everything else, like bringing it downtown, it's the perfect place for the draft. But I think Pittsburgh's going to be great. I thought Green Bay was kind of stupid. You can hate me for it. It's a very small town. I feel like the draft should be in a big city. But
The only reason why I think Green Bay makes sense is just because of the history. Like it's such a hotbed for the NFL, and like the Packers are, one of those first couple teams, won the Super Bowl, and I don't know. There's just a lot of history, I think, there, and it's also, owned. The team is owned by the fans, so like I think that's another reason why you can just kind of spell it that way as well. What are you thinking, Noah?
I don't know. Being from like Central East Coast, I would love for it to come down here more often. It's always like flying far away. Nashville's close enough, but like Atlanta would be cool. As much as I don't like Atlanta, I think that would be a cool spot to have it. When was the last time they had the draft in Atlanta? I think
they haven't.
I thought they had it there once. In like
they've had it in New
2000s.
York. No, they had it in New York up until like 2015 or 2014, I think, and then they had it Chicago back to back, and then they've been doing like every year a different one. So Philly, Dallas,
It was in New York
Nashville.
for that long.
yeah, it wasn't. That was like
Radio
the
City Music
spot.
Hall. Radio City Music Hall. That was
I knew
the
it
big
was
thing.
there.
It was
like
a very
lot, but
small.
I thought that changed like early in the 2000s. Oh god.
No,
yeah.
it was Chicago back to back, and then
That's
Philly,
right.
Dallas, Nashville, Cleveland, Vegas, KC, Detroit, Green Bay this past year, and
That's
then
right.
next year's Pittsburgh, and then DC.
Yeah.
I actually, for hot take, I think DC is going to have the most amount of people for an NFL draft of all time. I bet you Green Bay hit, I think it was over 500,000 people maybe. I think DC is going to hit over 1 million people just because you're in the DMV and you're going to get Baltimore, you're going to get people from Delaware. It's three
It's only like a
states.
4-hour drive from us.
Yeah,
I also think not only like location in that regard matters, but where they're having it on the National Mall, which is huge. Like you have such a
Humongous.
large area to put it
Dude,
in,
traffic is
and
gonna
such
be
a great,
so bad.
a great
DC
backdrop.
traffic.
Oh, it's gonna be
the city's gonna.
horrendous.
I think it's going to be unsafe too. I mean, that is like a prime spot to like. I mean, you saw it in Kansas City. Not going to say it, but
No, yeah, you're
just saying.
right.
I'm just saying, like those kind of things. I wonder what kind of security they're going to have for that. But
I mean, I'm sure they would have the utmost security, but it's well more populated than a place like Green Bay.
I mean, Trump had good security too. I'm just saying. I don't know if I trust these guys.
That was in the middle of nowhere, PA. That could happen anywhere.
even more of a point. Other spots that I had, some outlandish ones. So I had London, Maui. I think that would be a crazy one if they put it out in Hawaii. Replacing the Pro Bowl.
That would
They
be cool.
Do the draft there. That was one. Some domestic ones that I had, Miami. I don't know
Miami would be good.
temperature-wise if it's going to be too hot, but end of April it should be okay. Los Angeles, you got to imagine Los Angeles is going to host one here before too long. And then the other one that I had that kind of similar to Nashville kind of vibe, maybe not as much as a country music, but Scottsdale. I think that would be a cool spot to have it as well. Those were just a couple that came into my mind that I think would really thrive with the draft because they've hosted major type of events previously and know how to accommodate that many people.
Yeah, for sure. I like those ideas actually. Came to the table.
Yeah,
I
I think
doubt
it's
that.
I think it's just something that, like, if you're gonna go for it, man. Go big or go home. Like, let's make this a big thing every single year. If you're gonna pick a new destination every year, like the Super Bowl or the Final Four, or all these other events that we have that go on in sports where you're picking different destinations, let's spice it up. Let's bring it to a whole nother level. All right, let's hop into probably the biggest news in the NFL world since we last recorded, at least in my opinion, and that's George Pickens. So if you were living under a rock, George Pickens was traded to the Cowboys for a third-round pick, and now that leaves the Steelers with just DK Metcalf. I'm kind of upset about it. I really wanted the DK and George Pickens saga and just that show to just go on. I think it would have been great. But second best is probably Pickens in Dallas because that's always a spectacle every year. Brings up a really big question now because you're putting him with CeeDee Lamb. Is this the best receiving duo in the NFL right now?
No.
George Pickens and CeeDee? No, not even. I don't even think they're in the top 3. And I think Pickens is low key, like close to a top 10 receiver talent when he wants to be.
Top 10 wide receiver 2?
Top 10 wide receiver. He can be a wide receiver 1. He proved that in Pittsburgh. I mean, talent-wise, if he never had a quarterback. He never had Big Ben.
I shit on Dak, but this is a big upgrade for him.
No,
Who's
I
Drake
think
London's quarterback's been?
Kirk Cousins and
Desmond
Michael
Ritter.
Penix.
Desmond Ritter.
I mean, Drake. Who would you rather have, Drake London or George Pickens?
Drake London.
Oh, I disagree.
Oh my dude.
Wait,
rather
taking
have
out
Drake
all of the off the field stuff, I'm taking Pickens. I need that. I need that kind of guy that. Listen, if your wide receiver is not a diva in some kind of capacity, he's not going to be a dog. Not going to be a dog. Except for maybe Justin Jefferson.
Puka.
Puka's going to get there, man. He's
Devontae?
still new. It takes time.
Like, would you
Devontae
say-
Adams is a diva, too.
Is he?
Did you see what he did in Las Vegas? The entire time he was crying.
I mean, do you blame him?
No, I don't blame him. I'm just saying they speak their mind. Devontae said multiple times, I need to get the hell out of here.
Terry
And he knew
McLaurin?
he was being recorded by Netflix. He knew it.
Terry McLaurin?
Terry McLaurin's not better than George Pickens.
Chris
dog.
Olave?
Not better than George
Oh
Pickens.
my god.
If he's healthy, I
Not-
think.
no, he's
I
not,
think-
bro.
I
You
think
are
so.
out of your mind, brother.
Okay, so you're telling me you would take Chris Olave, who
Yes.
can't
CeeDee
stay on
Lamb,
the
yes.
field, over
I just
George
said
Pickens.
if healthy, I think he's a better receiver. When he's on the field,
What's
he
he
is
do
better.
better than George Pickens does?
Everything.
He's not a better. He's not better. Our
Contested catch.
Contested catch.
That's it. That's
Deep
all
ball.
George Pickens has.
He can be lazy on routes, but I feel like if someone can get into George Pickens' head, which probably won't, I feel like his talent is out of this world.
Bro, if George Pickens drops one ball in a game, the rest of the game is done. Like, he is so in his head after that.
No,
he
that's
can't
what
get
I'm
out of his
saying.
own
If
head.
someone can fix that,
yeah,
I don't
and
know
the
if it's
Cowboys
fixable.
is
I'm saying
Cowboys
talent.
is the best spot.
I'm
for
not
that.
saying he's a top 10. I'm not saying he's
You
a
said
top
he was
10
close.
receiver.
You said
All
he
right, I
was
have-
really
I'm saying
close.
talent. I said top 10 receiver talent, and he is.
I have them at 7. That's where I have that duo. CD and George Pickens, I have at 7. Number 1, I have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. 2, I'm biased, Addison and Jettis.
I
3,
think that's one.
Devontae and AJ. 4, Puka and Devontae. 5, Evans and Godwin. I know Godwin's coming back, but I still think he's incredible. And then 6, I have Amon-Ra and J-Mo. One that I put on here, the other ones that I had, Tyreek and Waddle are up there, Terry and Debo, Drake London and Mooney, Kupp and JSN, I think could be. The one that I think is a big outlier that I think could make a huge jump this year, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy.
What about DJ Moore and Romeo Dunze?
I got to see more from Adunze. I got to see
I
more.
also-
and
also,
DJ had a bad
DJ
year.
DJ, when you go and watch DJ Moore play, he was not tapped in last year.
Oh, he didn't give a shit.
Like, he hates Chicago, at least for now. And maybe that was just because he was going through another, rookie quarterback, going through all of that shit after the Panthers. He didn't cry about PJ Walker, and he was like, I'm freaking sick of this shit, dude. Like, but he was lazy, man. He was terrible last year.
Yeah, I think that this could work out really well. The biggest concern with me with the Cowboys is what's the rest of the makeup of their team? You have a line that's going through a transition. You've got a lot of question marks on defense. Javonte Williams is your one?
I thought the Cowboys had one of the best off seasons in the NFL. I thought they were a huge winner in the draft. I thought they really went after positions of need. They went and got the second wide out, which was that in the run game was the entire problem last year. Now, Javonte Williams, they could use another running back, but they also did take one in the draft as well. Was it Caleb Johnson? Is that no? Who they take?
Because Caleb Johnson went from the college Steelers to the professional Steelers.
Who did
Iowa to Steelers?
I forget who they did take a run. Maybe no. Marion Hampton went to.
They took Jaden Blue from Texas.
Jaden Blue. So they have Jaden Blue and Javonte Williams, and when Javonte Williams is, I think this is his second year, maybe third year off injury. Maybe he can have a recreation of when he was decent a couple years back. But they also have a great offensive line. I thought they addressed the defensive line as well. They're getting some guys back from injury, including Dak. I think they're going to be a really good football team.
Duron Bland, will have a full season now, which will be great. Diggs is coming back from a pretty gruesome injury. Overshone will be back as well, who I think was a big boost to them. Adugizoa, they got him back as well. That was a big what if they can get him back. But, that line has still got some question marks. The O-line, Booker, you're drafting him. I thought it was a reach. I think that he is a very good guard, but at 12, I do question that. Guyton and Smith are both pretty solid pieces, I would say. Cooper Beebe's solid, and then Terrence Steele is solid. They're not you're having to now replace Zach Martin with a rookie. It's a big question mark for me. It really is.
Yeah, I thought their biggest weakness last year was their defensive line, and they went out. I know that there's not a lot of big names, but there is a lot of great rotational players like Solomon Thomas, and they also drafted, I am going to butcher this name, but Ezeki Ruku or whatever the hell it is from Boston College. Yeah. I thought he was an absolute dog. I thought he could have slipped into the first round. A lot of people did. I personally think that they addressed a lot of their needs. And, yeah, maybe the offense and defensive line still have some question marks, but I think they have the weapons, and I think if they can have these rotational players step up, I would not doubt that Dallas gets back into the playoffs this year. But, that's why I don't hate the first game of the year being Eagles-Cowboys.
Well, let's hop into that.
I think that will be a great game.
Let's hop into that because that was the other kind of, biggest storyline that came out because there's been all this speculation about who the Eagles were going to host on Banner Night. And personally, I let me ask you, did they make the right choice? I'll start with that.
I think, yeah. I know everybody's going to say, oh, it should have been Detroit or it should have been the Commanders. But at the same time, Dallas was not a playoff team last year. They're kind of looking for revenge, and you kind of want those playoff. I hated, for example, I know it was a great game last year, but the thought of it before the year, the Chiefs-Ravens, that should have been a late season, 8 p.m., 4 p.m. game instead of the first game of the year. I know it was great, but I don't like big-time matchups on night one because you're not even a fully furnished football team yet. So you don't even have your best stuff.
I think the beauty of the NFL compared to other sports is that every game matters. Every week, every game matters. There's not a ton of sports leagues like that. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it so much. And I agree. I think the games at the end of the year should have heavy playoff implications. You should be winning football games in November and December to send you to the playoffs, not beating up on the Giants or whoever, or a team like the Panthers to get in. It should be those big time teams. If Dallas is going to be good this year, have them play the Eagles late in the year. I don't want these matchups early on.
Yeah, that's why I felt like Dallas was good. Yeah, I felt like Dallas was a good pick because you don't really know what kind of team they're going to be. We're expecting the Commanders. We're expecting Detroit. But this could be a good matchup for Philadelphia in the fact of it's their night and the Cowboys can ruin it. And also, we don't know what to expect. So we might get a really good Cowboys team on night one, but in week 17, they might be really bad. So it's like, why would we want that matchup later in the year with playoff implications when we can have Washington versus Philadelphia? I thought it was a really good pick.
We still might get that because they're divisional opponents.
Yeah.
So like you still could have one of those games later
Yeah.
in the year. I think that we do fall in. I mean, if we're going off your guys' basis and you just want like a gimme game early in the year, throw the Raiders there. Let's see what Gino's got.
It has to be an in-betweener. It can't be like a well-known.
I personally think the Rams would have been a good pick.
I thought the Kansas City-Detroit game they had 2 years ago was like a great first one, where it was like Detroit was on the come-up. I think they barely missed the playoffs the year before, but like
they did.
They were turning things around, and then they come out week one and beat the Chiefs.
Yeah,
that was a good game
I agree.
for the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and the hype around the Cowboys this offseason is like, oh, Jerry traded for Pickens. He's gone all in. Finally, after he said it 2 or 3 years ago. I can see similarities, and not as much with Detroit because Detroit was bad for so long. But with the Cowboys, you just never know what you're going to get. So
see, I think the Bears. If we're going off that, I think the Bears would have been a really good.
Bears would have been a really good one too. But you have a chance for the Cowboys to watch Philly raise the banner. So I'm also not big on division matchups super early in the year.
That's how
so I'm kind of back and forth because once again, like I like those really tough December matchups, but I don't hate the pick. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, I mean I know a lot of people were clamoring for the Commanders because it was the NFC Championship rematch, or the Lions because the Lions were the 1 seed last year and the Eagles were the 2 seed. Like I said, me personally, I would have loved to see that Rams game because I don't think the Rams are this quote-unquote juggernaut in football, but it also would have been a rematch of the NFC divisional playoff game, which really and truly came down to Jalen Carter getting a sack that ruined that comeback for the Rams. So I think that would have been a really good game. Let me ask you this. Now that we've got this game scheduled with the Cowboys and the Eagles, who is more likely to repeat their season from last season, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
Repeat? That's a really tough question because I think Philadelphia is going to take a step back, and I think the Cowboys are going to take a step forward. So, I mean, just based off of talent alone, I would have to say Philly because I don't think the Cowboys are going to recreate their bad season from last year. So I would probably say Philadelphia, but that one's tough. A better question would be, do the Eagles take more of a regression than the Cowboys take more of a progression next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's basically kind of the same thing. It's tough. I mean, you also have to remember the Cowboys finished 7-10. Like, it's not like they were completely awful.
Because Cooper Rush is a dog, man. He's a dog. He's the best backup quarterback in the NFL, man.
Funny how you're mentioning that now.
I'm just saying, man. No bias.
What do you think, Noah?
That's a tough one because the biggest question mark for Philly is their defense. They just lost so many pieces for me. Like, it's just like, will that defensive line be the same? Probably not, but probably still really good. How much does Barkley have left in the tank? I mean, he's what, 29?
That's
29?
I think he's 28, right. 29. I think you're around there.
So, like, he's at the age where, like, normally running backs, the wheels start falling off. So is it not that he'll play bad, but, like, do they start taking the approach of, like, let's give him less snaps so that we can have him for another, 2 years and still use him?
Well, I think the other thing to keep in mind is that no team has repeated as divisional champs of the NFC East since 03-04 Philly did it. That's 20-plus years that a team has.
Wow, I forgot Philly. I forgot Philly in 2024 had that huge division lead and blew it. They lost.
Did they lose the last 7?
3-win. Yeah, they lost to a 3-win Arizona Cardinal team.
They had to go to Tampa and lost to Tampa. It lost to Baker in the playoffs. No, they had a couple injuries in that game. But
I will say this: I don't think Philly wins that division this year. I think people are expecting the same exact thing as last year. But like Noah said, that defense was the reason of how great they were. Yes, their offense was good, but a lot of people forget that Philly's offense had a ton of trouble in the first half of the year, and the defense kind of had to pick up the slack. They were both kind of bad at first, but the defense started coming on a little bit earlier than the offense did. They just kind of hit their stride later in the year when they started giving Saquon the ball more, start realizing that's all we have to do. Now I think that teams will be more prepared for that.
Well, now they got to meet Jackson Dart twice a year.
Yeah.
You love the Giants, and I've heard a lot of people talking. I mean, outside of the quarterback position, this team has got a pretty damn good roster.
A good roster?
I think so.
Okay. Go ahead and run through their roster for me real quick.
I'll give them an okay roster.
Their defense is so bad. I don't care. They went out and signed a whole bunch of rotational guys when they were already a bad team. I say they take a step forward. I don't think they're going to be like the number two worst team.
I don't think they're going to win their division.
But I see people saying New York is going to be a sleeper playoff team. Not in that division, man. They're going to end up last in that division. And you have Russell Wilson, who can only throw a moonball at this point. You have Jameis. This is what's going to happen with the Giants. They're going to start with Russell Wilson. He's going to go and have a couple good games and then maybe get hurt, maybe start falling off a cliff.
He'll put Jameis Winston in at halftime.
Jameis.
He'll throw for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns and a half.
Yes, they're going to be like, oh, Jameis gives us a spark. And then 2 weeks later, he's thrown 5 interceptions, and they're like, shit, we have to throw Jackson Dart in here way too early when Dart should not touch the field the entire year. But they're going to have to do that because of Dabble and because of Joe Shane. And they're going to be like, hey, this is our last chance.
I think their defense, like up front, you've got Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns.
Coming off a big injury.
I know. I'm not denying that, but I'm still saying you've also got Abdul Carter, who just drafted. We'll see what Thibodeau can do. That's the guy that I think can make that step. And if he does, holy crap. Okerike's there as well. And then on the back end, they brought in Adebo, brought in Javon Holland. Banks has got a lot to prove. He gets hurt. And then Newman and Drew Phelps.
Who comes in last, Tyler? If you had to pick right now, who comes in last? Dallas?
It's got to be Dallas or the Cowboys, right?
Dallas
or the Giants. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there is still the sophomore slump, but I love him and am such a believer in Jaden Daniels that I can't see that, at least that much. But it is Washington. We know historically this is what Washington does, build your hopes up and then tear it out. I would still say the Giants are probably the worst team, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did finish second or third. I'll say that. I could see them making a jump to second. I can't really see them winning this division, but I could see there being some cannibalism in this division where they finish 8-9 or 9-8 and could possibly get up there.
I'm with
They're going to
you
benefit from a pretty good schedule too.
Everyone is scared to say it, but the Commanders are not going to repeat the same exact. I don't think their roster is that good, and I didn't think it was that good last year, and I don't think they improved that much to make me think they're going to take that next jump to the Super Bowl. I think potentially Washington might come in third in that division. And I truly do believe that. Not because of Jaden Daniels, but Daniels in the second half of the year wasn't as good as what people think. He was dominant in the playoffs. But this first half of the year, Jaden was tearing it up. And then the second half of the year, people started to catch on a little bit, and Washington was not as good against good teams in the second half of the year. So
you think Dallas is going to win this division?
I don't think that. I think probably Philly if I had to pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas ends up winning it or coming in a close second. But I'm always high on Dallas I have the same narratives every year. I think Chicago's going to be great. I think Dallas is underrated. I have the same exact narrative. Maybe I should, whatever I say, you should probably take the opposite when it comes to those narratives because I'm going to be wrong.
I think Chicago is going to be pretty damn good this year.
Everybody
for what it's worth.
I did have another. We were talking about Pickens earlier, and I know we were just talking about the NFC East, but I did make a video about this today, and I know this is changing gears, but I think that
let's go.
I I think that Pittsburgh's going to tank this year. And I said this earlier, and there is a lot of conspiracy to it just because the NFL draft is actually in Pittsburgh this year. But Pittsburgh has still not signed, and apparently maybe Rodgers signs this week. We never know. But I don't think they actually sign Rodgers. I think that they end up as maybe the third team in the AFC North this year, and I don't think they have at least a winning record. I really don't. I don't know what Pittsburgh is doing at this point, but it doesn't make any sense why they didn't add a quarterback and why they traded George Pickens now after getting DK Metcalf. That just made no sense.
Isn't that nuts to think that we don't know what they're doing at quarterback and you still can't put them last in the division? Does that not
I was thinking the
speak to
same
Mike
thing.
Tomlin?
They're not last.
No, I mean Mike Tomlin wins football games, dude.
Not playoff games.
Let's not get into the Mike Tomlin discussion, man. You're going to go against.
He overachieves. I'll say that in the regular season he overachieves.
But he has a decent roster too. We always act like Pittsburgh has a really. I mean, they invest almost the most in the NFL salary cap wise in their defense, and Mike Tomlin is a defensive coach, so I wouldn't say he overachieves. I would say they do just about what you would expect.
I think he overachieves.
Just because
every year we have this talk where we're like, the Steelers are going to regress every single year, and they make the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they don't regress, but they stay exactly where they've been.
What Watt did
this
last
year? I will say this year they overachieved a tad because of Russell Wilson and his crazy run against bad teams for like 6 weeks.
Last year? Wasn't he bad?
He was bad. I don't think he had a sack
too.
for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I think this is my opinion about this. I mean, first of all, they never finish under 500.
Yeah.
Like somehow, some way, he's going to get to 8 or 9 wins. I don't know how
He's
it's going to happen.
Records
He
are
had
meant
to
to be
sold
broken,
his soul,
dude.
He had to have sold his soul.
I agree with you, but I think that Pittsburgh overachieves when they have less, and I think they underachieve when they have more. That's personally how I feel. If I were the Steelers and you're not going to bring in Rodgers, or I personally think them going after Cousins would be very stupid. I think that if they
it
were
would
to
make
bring
zero sense.
because they're going to have to take the majority of his contract, and it's just not smart just for this year. I think that I would tank. And then and here's why, and it's because of what the quarterback class is next year. I think next year's quarterback class is light years above. Like, I think there's 5 or 6 guys that you would take next year ahead of Cam Ward.
Yeah,
I just hate the term
agree.
tank. Like, it just
not tank. Let's say
dude,
not.
I think they
explain.
should bring in the lottery.
this is okay. No.
Okay,
Screw
did
the
you
lottery.
not just see?
No, because you know what happens.
but you can't
the
rig
Charlotte
it.
Hornets have been terrible for 35 fucking years,
and they can't get the number 1 pick
because they're not like they're not transparent with how it's done. It's just like Luka traded
you
this
have
year.
this amount of chance.
I think it's
you were this
absolutely
bad.
rigged.
Luka was traded this year, and Cooper Flagg's really good.
If you
Bro.
didn't
Dallas.
rig it.
No, keep it the way it is, because we only talk about tanking when it comes to the quarterback position. If a team has a terrible secondary and they don't improve the secondary any, guess what nobody says? Oh my God, they're tanking this year so that they can take the number 1 corner next year. It's only quarterbacks, and it's so annoying. Which I understand they have a larger impact on the game.
But that's because the number 1 overall pick probably 75% of the time is a quarterback.
Shouldn't be.
Tyler, let me put this into perspective. That Dallas getting the number 1 overall pick would be equivalent, and this is the closest equivalent I can think of because I'm trying to think of a superstar that hasn't gotten paid yet. Because Luke is still very young, so I'm thinking of a young superstar, so not like a Lamar, not like a Joe Burrow. It would be like Jaden Daniels goes out and has a great half a season, and he is putting up big numbers, and Washington trades him for assets. And
the Cowboys.
Yeah, and they end up as not the worst team in the league, and they get the number 1 overall pick, and they get, who knows, Drew Aller or the guy from Clemson, whoever it is. Like, it would be equivalent to that. Just imagine if that happened in the NFL. You would be going insane saying how bad it is.
I think that there's more surefire number 1 overall picks in the NBA outside of Anthony Bennett than there are in the NFL.
Well,
I think I don't know if the NFL look at Trayvon Walker. Like I'm not saying he's a bad player.
He wasn't
by
the
any
top
means.
3 pick, or what was he?
He was number 1.
No, yeah, that's right. That he should have
Yeah,
been.
he was number 1.
That's what I'm saying.
So the difference
Look
in
at
the NBA
I'm not
and the
trying to
NFL
shit on you either, Noah, but like look at Bryce Young.
Yeah,
I think that there's more surefire number 1 overall picks in the NBA than there are in the NFL.
Well, the thing is, bad teams are going to be bad regardless of the draft. Cleveland had the number 1 pick how many times, or a top 5 pick how many times in 10 years, and they were still bad because they didn't draft well. Look at the Eagles, who, if you go back 2 years to the year Jalen Carter was drafted, and you look at all those draft picks, you probably look at that one and think that was the best pick of the first round for how good the player is when the pick happened in terms of how good
Kyle
that
Hamilton
Value,
better.
the value.
just value. Kyle Hamilton's really good.
They're close. You know
It's
what's
close.
funny is the Eagles I think the Eagles jumped the Ravens for Carter.
But that just helps me
And
prove
they
my
went
point.
back to back.
Is like,
Yeah.
it's another team later in the round who took a position of need, or not a position of need, just the best player they felt available.
Well, he also killed someone, so that's why he dropped.
I was talking about Kyle Hamilton, but
Okay, that's not funny, but the way that you brought that up is crazy.
the NBA is different. There's like 3 players every year that are like, these are the best 3 players, and of course you have
Yeah.
like the Nikola Jokic who goes 55th overall, but that
Dude,
that happens
Jokic got
way less.
drafted. Jokic got drafted while there was a Taco
Yeah,
Bell
Taco
commercial
Bell,
going on.
yeah.
Yeah, come to think of it, you guys are kind of making good points for it because the NFL is just so much different in the sense of
There's also
like,
only 17 games compared to 80-some games.
we have Cooper Flag like frickin' jersey swaps as soon as it happens, which is insane. I can't believe ESPN's allowed to do that.
Well, what
they had
I'm
the
telling you, what
lowest
they do
odds,
is
I think.
They just
They
had
had
the graphics
1.8.
ready to go.
I know, but they had like an insane. I guess I don't know. I know they had the graphics ready, but I mean, who
It's still
would've
bullshit.
thought?
I'm not even a Hornets fan. I don't even really keep up with the NBA. But
The Wizards,
them getting
too.
6, the Wizards got boned. Like,
No,
Wizards have
man,
been
what do you mean? The Wizards are getting
every
Derek
year.
Queen now. It's going to be great.
it's
Hometown
so
hero.
dumb.
Jesus.
I hate the lottery. Everything the NBA does is wrong. Like,
Yeah.
the NFL should never turn to the NBA for like the NBA or the NFL is smoking the NBA. And
Oh,
Yeah, it's not
100%.
so they should
They
not.
took
should
over
not take
when they took
anything.
Christmas. When the NFL took Christmas, the NBA was done because that was like the highlight of the NBA season. Was like, oh, we get LeBron versus Curry on Christmas, and it doesn't even matter anymore
This isn't-
because I'm
no.
watching the NFL.
This isn't really an NBA show, but just think about the talent that's in the NBA right now. Okay, for like when we were growing up, like you had KD, you had Kyrie, you had LeBron, you had Kawhi, you had Paul George, like those types of superstars where like they were having shoes, and every time you went to Curry, like every time you went to a gym, you saw kids with those shoes. That generation has went on. Now you have Halliburton, Brunson, Jason Tatum. And you have other young guys coming up like that.
Anthony MF Edwards.
Anthony Edwards.
That's my dude.
Dude, he was balling last night.
That's my dude.
How popular are
was
those
on a
dudes
freaking-
on a national level compared to like when PG was big and LeBron was big and KD? The NBA is getting smoked. NFL should not look to the NBA for any advice. They stink.
Yeah.
Well, the NBA Finals last year, the highest, as far as viewership was, the highest game last year in the NBA Finals was 12.2 million. You want to guess what the NFL draft was this year?
I
would
think
say
it was like
close to-
4 times it.
24 million, so it's double. But still,
Two
that's
times.
the highest event in one sport. And like, I'm not going to say, I'd probably say the draft is the lowest event viewership wise for the NFL. So that kind of puts it in that perspective.
Last thing about the NBA, and then we'll move on. One thing that I did hate that they did. Remember when the finals aura they used to have like on the court with the patches?
Oh, yeah.
Why'd they ever get rid of that shit?
Because they're stupid.
Like, why did they put it on like the back of their jersey? Like, I just remember Kobe. I remember in like, when was it? 2010 when Kobe was in the finals and they had those Laker gold with the finals patch
Dog,
on it.
I'm telling you, they don't market. I don't know what it is. Like, dude, people were wearing headbands because of AI in the 90s and 2000s. Like, people yelled Kobe when they shot shit in the trash can. Like, they had the... Like, there's been cultural stuff, and there's none of that anymore. Like, the NBA culturally is just, like, falling off. No one cares anymore. Blows.
Agreed.
No, I think that it's a good point where like you've seen the ascension of the NFL, you've seen the decline in the NBA. I would absolutely say that there's
And the
that
ascension in the
reverse correlation.
NHL.
Yeah, I do like watching.
Tyler, I'm curious about your hypothetical here.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about hypotheticals, you can go ahead and read it off.
Yeah,
but-
so I saw this I've seen a couple of these on social media, but essentially, who would you take, the old guys or the young guys? The old guys being, this is so weird for me to say, Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, or A.J. Green, or Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, and A.J. Brown.
Old guys.
If
bro.
you guys, I was about to say, if anybody says the new guys, you are 12.
Megatron.
So here's-
Calvin Johnson used to have to be triple team,
Dude,
dog.
Megatron, AB, and Julio are 1, 2, and 3.
AB would have been the greatest
They're 1, 2,
wideout
and
of
3
all
on that
time
list.
if he didn't freaking have CTE.
If
I
you
mean,
just-
but look at the numbers that Jefferson and Chase are putting up right now. Like just from this side of
I
things.
think it's more of the back end. Like
100%.
Julio Jones was the most underappreciated, underrated wide receiver of all time.
Oh, I think the biggest
he is
lopsided-
easily a Hall of Famer.
I think the most lopsided part of this is Larry Fitz versus Amon-Ra. That's just, I think Larry Fitz blows him out of the water. And then I
and
think
AJ Green in his prime was a dog.
he was,
forget
but
about
like
that.
there could be a conversation there. I think that when it's all said and done, I think there is a conversation for Jefferson and or Chase to be better than Calvin. I really do. With the trajectory that they're on right now, those two guys are on the way to being top 5
right.
wide
If,
receivers in
I'm
NFL
telling
history.
you, bro, if Antonio Brown didn't go crazy, man, he was better. He was going to be better than Jerry Rice. He was. Statistically, he was going to
Listen,
break every record.
I can't. I some positions in some sports and some rankings of like best all time. It just comes down to like the eye test. Like you just know. Like you can just, no matter what the stats say, like you can just look at it and know. Like, do we all in this room think that Jerry Rice is actually the best receiver of all time?
Straight cash, homie.
Do we?
No,
do
I
we
think
that?
Randy Moss is.
Straight cash, homie.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Is it because of stats, or is it because you could just watch Randy Moss play and
Yeah.
you just?
I think it's a combination. I mean, I watch you, dude. You turn on a game, you turn on the Bengals, and you just know that Jamar Chase is a second away from completely changing that game.
I agree.
Like, I think
Jamar Chase is a Ravens merchant, dude. He gets half his yards
he
from
does
the
get
Ravens.
about 800 yards a year.
He
off
had
the Ravens.
500
you
yards
can
against
argue
the
that,
Ravens,
but
dude.
my argument against that would be the dude just won the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those two guys. I mean, you can make the argument for the back half of those older guys with Julio, Larry Fitz, and AJ Green over CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, and AJ Brown. But Jefferson and Chase, those are two guys that you're turning on those games to watch those guys.
I got a question.
Yes.
When you say who are you taking, are you telling me, okay, I can start a football team and I can have these 5 wide receivers on my football team? Or are you just
Yeah.
saying, like, who do I prefer?
Which
'Cause
5 would you
I'm
take?
also looking here and I see more, like, diversity amongst the old guys. Like, I see different archetypes of receivers.
That's a good point too. I mean, it's a hypothetical, so
All the
rules
receivers
are endless.
nowadays are very similar.
Yeah.
That's another thing,
Yeah.
too. There is not, like I think of those.
I don't know. I think
Like
AJ
jump
Brown
ball.
and Amon-Ra are completely different.
Yeah, AJ's like take out
I
AJ.
think
Amon-Ra,
Jefferson, Chase,
CD,
and CD
Jefferson,
are
yeah.
all, like, the same archetype.
See, I don't know because I think Chase is somewhere in between, like he's everything.
He's more of a playmaker than, like, Jefferson is. Like, he's more
Yeah, he's
likely
great
to...
yards
like, to,
after the
yeah,
catch.
Yeah.
But his contested catch radius is right up there with the best of them, like AJ Brown or we were talking about Pickens or DK or the biggest guys. He's right up there with all those guys. As
Who are
well.
you,
Like
who are
Chase,
you running from the slot with these 5? Like, who are you putting at the slot?
are you talking about for the
young guys,
younger
the
guys?
new guys?
I guess
Yeah, that's the
Amon-Ra.
question. I was gonna say Amon-Ra more than likely,
Amon-Ra's a dog.
but
Yeah.
CD in the slot, man.
I just
Woo,
do
he
that
cooks.
top heavy, that Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones. Like, I think the gap between CD and Julio is way too big. I
Yeah,
think the gap
that's where I
between
am.
Antonio Brown and Jamar Chase is way too big.
No.
Like, dude, it's way bigger than you think, dog.
Bro,
I don't.
no disrespect to AB.
How old are you,
but,
Tyler?
like,
You're 30, right?
Yeah, I'm 30.
You
I'll be
remember
32.
Prime AB?
yes,
Prime AB was like
the Killer Bees,
unstoppable.
Big Ben, AB, Le'Veon, Martavis Bryant. I remember those
AB
Steelers.
used to single-handedly take over a game.
It's
and win a
also
game
so
for
tough
Pittsburgh.
because like we're sitting here discussing this, in my opinion at least, before Jefferson and Chase even get to their prime.
I will agree. Like, I'm just going off of right now. It's tough to
Yeah,
say.
right now.
Yeah,
it's tough to
right
say.
now.
And that's the glorious thing about a hypothetical, because like you can look at this and where are we going to be with this list in 10 years, or you can look at it and say where are we exactly right now. And like I'm looking at it probably toward where are we going to be in 10 years. Like I'm looking at where Jefferson and Chase are as far as the trajectory that they're on and where they might get to.
Too, though, like I think this is kind of what's holding me back, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking I'm not as scared as Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase as I would have been playing against Julio. 'Cause, I mean, as a Panthers fan, we saw Julio twice a year, and it was like, oh my God, it didn't matter who the quarterback was, it didn't matter how bad their defense was. It was like, holy shit. Like, I think it's because we're seeing this shift. So all those, like at least AB and Julio and AJ Green, they kind of lived in that time where the NFL was transitioning to a more pass-heavy, like West Coast style offense, like you were throwing the ball out. And now we're kind of seeing it kind of swing back where it's like, okay, your front seven on defense is more important. Running the ball is now super important. There's a lot less talented quarterbacks.
I think it's more possession, like receiving.
Yeah, especially with like these two high safeties type stuff. Like we're just seeing less and less of like big plays from receivers.
Unless it's Jefferson and Chase, pretty much. I mean, those are two guys that just like can change the game in a split second. They're like two of the only guys in football that I feel like that all the time.
Not to change topics, I know we're about to talk about Justin Tucker, but speaking of the Ravens, breaking news is here. I don't know if you guys know him or not, but Adarius Washington, who's going to play a very key role for Baltimore's defense, is torn his Achilles. So the Ravens are going to have to roll with a rookie safety completely. So
good thing you got Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, unfortunate.
I think Malachi Starks is a dog, though. I really do. Like, I know that you're worried about throwing a rookie safety into there, but like, I think there's also like Hamilton is such a good guy to learn from. I really and truly feel like that. And it's just the pedigree. Like you're going into an organization that just lives and breathes defense stability. That's all.
Yeah, but you guys know when you think you're gonna have a great team, like coming into
it's different with you. Don't even. Bro,
when the injury bug hits early like this, it usually rolls.
You guys have the worst injury luck. I know that.
We drafted Kelvin Benjamin in 2014. He had a 1,000-yard rookie season. He tore his ACL in rookie camp, and I thought we were screwed when we went to the Super Bowl that year. And we've been ass ever since. So.
Yeah, I guess
could be a good sign.
Hey man, Teddy Bridgewater completely ruined his career a week before the season started. We went out and traded for Sam Bradford, and Sam Bradford was done by week 4, and we still made the NFC Championship.
All right, so you guys convinced me. Ravens to the bowl. All right, so Justin Tucker news, he got cut. That's actually probably the biggest news outside of George Pickens and Trey Hendrickson. We should probably talk about that too, but Justin Tucker was cut. The Ravens did say, I do have a question for you guys because I had a hypothetical about this, is the Ravens kept saying that this was a football move. They refused to say it was because of any of the allegations. They basically said it had nothing to do with that. Do you guys think that that is true, or do you think it was mainly because of the allegations against him?
I'll let you go now.
I think it was a combo. I mean, let's be honest. Like, Ravens fans wanted him gone like week 5. Like he was terrible this year. I mean, he kind of got it together and they figured it out later in the year. But it's very clear his leg is not. He's once you get past like 45, I don't think he's a sure thing anymore. And then you kind of add that with his bad play on top of he likes to get the little rub and tugs done or whatever it is. I think it just kind of made sense. And like. At the same time, they're probably trying to avoid a lawsuit. You can't go out and be like, hey, we cut him because he sexually harassed or whatever masseuse, and it turns out that's not true, and then he can sue the Ravens. So, like, it's just make a PC statement and just be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they got a safe face here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they got, they could have cut him in season. I think they did the right thing by letting it play out to the end of the year. I think that was the smart decision. You started to see it last year, and whether or not this is because what was on his mind, knowing that this story inevitably was going to, come to surface, and that's why his struggles on the field occurred, or maybe he was starting to hit the downturn in his career. Kickers are the most fragile, mentally minded players in all of sports, I feel. Like, there is a switch that at any point in time can just go from one way to the other, and then their career completely go. Like Dan Bailey. Remember how great Dan Bailey was for Mike Vanderjagt was great for a couple years, and then boom, it just went downhill really quickly. They'll go when things are going great, they're going great. Their confidence is booming. But the second that one thing might go wrong, that's when you find out what a kicker is actually made of. And I think that, this is one of those situations where he's up there in age. We can go ahead and move on now. We don't have to sit here and debate what's going to happen. Is it going to be legal issues? Are we going to have to cut him mid-season? What are we going to have to do? Now you can just move on, fresh slate. I think it's best for everybody. I don't know if Justin Tucker will ever play another football game again.
Also, I don't know how true this is, but there were reports that Justin Tucker was at rookie minicamp with Tyler Loop because obviously he needed to be at as much off-season stuff as he can, and they needed to see who they were going to keep, so he had to show up. I think he outperformed him, or at least, at the very least, they were close enough where they're like, okay, like, yeah, the allegations are there, and you guys are pretty similar in rookie camp throughout a week. I think it's time to move on. I think it's asinine and stupid to say it was strictly about the allegations because I think Baltimore, and that's what most Ravens fans are saying, I think Baltimore was going to draft a kicker no matter what. And I think there was going to be a discussion about it even without the allegations.
What was the Buffalo punter? Didn't that
Matt Araiza.
That happened to him last year where it came out and they cut him immediately. And then it was...
Matt Araiza, I think, was a little bit different. One, he wasn't an NFL punter at that time. Those allegations came from college.
Before he was in the NFL, right?
Right. And they just completely cut him before even giving him a chance.
Baltimore, if it was about the allegations, they would have cut him immediately. And they drafted Mike Green.
That is true. But that might be a little bit different, but
I know it's different in the situations, yes.
My thing is this. Let me ask you this. If this news had never come out, Justin Tucker had never done any of this, would he have been cut? Would they have moved on?
I think it wouldn't have been this early. I do think that if Tyler Loop was drafted still, which I do think they would have drafted a kicker, and he maybe didn't, like I said, outperform him, but they were close. I think because of salary reasons and because of his performance in the first half of the year, I know he was much better in the second half, but even if you go throughout his stats over the last 2 or 3 years from 50 yards out, he was one of the worst kickers in the NFL accuracy-wise. So I do think there was a real possibility of him being cut even without those allegations. I just think they would have at least given him the preseason to see it out.
He missed 8 field goals and 2 extra points last year.
Yeah, and that was all. Like, he started to find
he
his
lost
form.
like 2 games for the Ravens last year himself.
I remember that
himself. Do you guys think he's a Hall of Famer though? Is Justin Tucker a Hall of Famer?
He's the most accurate kicker in NFL history, right?
I think it's no doubt. Yeah. I think he gets in.
I mean, we put guys like Ray Lewis in the Hall of Fame, and he murdered somebody.
As long as he didn't come out and actually diddle massage therapists, he'll be in.
Yeah, but we have crazier people. I mean,
Ray Lewis.
Okay, the allegations are really bad, but I'm just saying that there are crazier people. I shouldn't compare situations.
Let me clarify
there
the question.
People with bad situations that are in the Hall of Fame.
Are you saying if it comes out that he did diddle all these people, or is
there's
sexually
a possibility
harassment,
he gets in?
Do I think he should still be in?
I
no,
don't think so.
No, yeah, I don't think he can.
I don't think he should be. I think. Yeah, what also is a good point is like a lot of the situations of the people who are in the Hall of Fame now weren't in light, like because they weren't in the social media era, so as they are now. I don't know. Pete Rose just got reinstated into the MLB, and he was touching little kids.
It's a crock of
I mean,
bullshit.
so like, I don't know if he gets voted into the Hall of Fame. I have no doubt that these sports leagues just go strictly based off the player.
The difference with the Pete Rose situation is that he got reinstated. He's not,
and he's eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Right, but they have to vote him in. Like,
you don't think he's getting in?
I don't think that the people will vote him in.
He's the greatest hitter of all time.
Oh, I know. Trust me. And he didn't do any of the gambling shit until he became a manager.
All right, so Tyler, you put this question, but I actually have an opinion. I'll let Noah go first. Who's the more valid Hall of Famer? Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, or Justin Tucker?
Barry Bonds. I feel like that one's so easy. I didn't have to think about that question. Barry should be in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, if I remember correctly, it's all just about the roid usage, right? Isn't that pretty much all it is with Barry Bonds?
Correct.
Yeah, put him in. There's no way you're not telling me. Barry Bonds being on roids is basically the equivalent of LeBron James spending $4 million a year on his health. They didn't do that back in the day. They used to go drink six-packs and smoke cigs and eat 12 pounds of steak a night. Put him in the Hall of Fame.
I think they should let baseball players, and I used to be against this, but Noah put it in my head in college. They should let baseball players use PEDs.
It's more fun. Let them smack dingers, dude.
I think it's a completely different game now, but like you mentioned, like back in the early 2000s, late 90s, like I'm not going to say the majority of the league, but I would say a lot of the league was using steroids at that time. So are we just going to completely tarnish and diminish all
Jeter,
stats?
I think
or A-Rod?
No, not Jeter. It was A-Rod. And
David Ortiz.
Yeah, David Ortiz.
Like,
he's
there's
in
a
the
lot
Hall
of
of Fame,
guys.
right? David Ortiz?
Pretty sure he is.
I don't keep up with
I
that.
don't understand baseball and their this
Prestige.
whole narrative of Barry Bonds and how terrible of a human. Like, I commented under the Pete Rose reinstatement thing, and everybody's like, and I said, well, what are they going to do about Barry Bonds if Pete Rose gets into the Hall of Fame?
I saw that, and it's different. It is.
And I'm just like, okay, so I see people comment and say, like, Barry Bonds should have to buy an admission ticket to every baseball game because he's that bad of a human being. I hate Barry Bonds. But will openly support a guy who molested children. That's it. The baseball community just makes no sense to me. Makes zero sense to me. There would be no prime baseball in the 2000s without Barry Bonds. He's one of the great. Take the PEDs out. You still have to hit a baseball. That's what's different about baseball and PEDs. It's the hardest sport in the world. PEDs just make you stronger. It doesn't make you hit the ball.
Correct. You have to have the hand-eye coordination. Was the Pete Rose shit ever proven?
I don't
Or were
think
they just
so.
allegations?
Well, it was also like
I think it was in the
60.
I mean, it doesn't make a
70
difference
years
when
ago.
it was.
Well, I'm
didn't
just saying
know if
there's
those
less
allegations were proven
there's
true.
less way to prove if it did happen.
Correct.
I think it's more like the Michael Jackson
If-
scenario where it's kind of like
But Michael
assumed.
Jackson was proven. I haven't watched it yet, but I heard that Michael Jackson documentary with the dude.
I heard he
it's
just
bad.
like to look at little
I'll
boys'
tell you
buttholes.
guys. We're,
I said, dude, I've heard.
Side note. Shooting guards. Watch that documentary with Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenden when they.
Oh yeah, I have that on my list too.
Oh, dude, I watched it the other night. Incredible. But I will say this: let's say those allegations were not true of Pete Rose, in my opinion, it's absolute bullshit. He's not in the Hall of Fame.
No, I agree. Fully agree.
If you want to sit there and say that what he did as a manager challenged the integrity of the game by him gambling on his team or against his team, whatever it was, fine. He didn't do any of that as a player. And that's where, like, say what you want, but when he was a player, there was nothing that came up. Barry Bonds had the steroids when he was a player. Justin Tucker has these allegations as he's a player. I'm not saying I think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way. I'm making that argument as well. I think they both should.
Yes. I think you cannot make a case for one or the other. The thing that's going to piss me off is when they put Pete Rose in, because he has been the one that everybody has been waiting for. He's going to be seen in that he's dead.
But who
he's
gives
going to
a
be
shit?
seen
He's
in
dead.
a bright
That's the
light.
point.
It's just the thought of having like him in and not Barry Bonds.
Isn't
But,
O.J.
like, my
Simpson
point
still
is-
in the Hall of Fame too?
Oh, that's a good quote. There you go.
Yeah.
Right there.
Because he was in the 80s. I don't remember if they took
I think
him
he
out of
still got, but he was innocent. So
If the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Hey,
I
he
will
was-
say this. I just think that now he has passed. It is doing him, his family, and everybody else a complete disservice by putting him into the Hall of Fame now. Like, it's just
yeah, I fully agree.
It's so fucked
it's
up.
a slap in the face. It's like you couldn't do it when he was alive. You wait until he's dead. Like, that's such bullshit. It feels like it's more of, oh, we're
Just
such
like
a great
performative
league.
act.
Yeah, like being like, we're so good. Like, it looks worse. And people are like, oh, when Barry Bonds is dead, he'll get in. And I'm like, that
Who cares
makes
at
it
that point?
worse.
Yeah.
That makes it way worse. I don't know. I do think, though, back to football a little bit because we were talking about gambling. I think that they should allow players in every league, including the NFL, to gamble on themselves. And I do not understand why they cannot do that. Only if it's the over.
Do you know?
You cannot bet the
matter,
under.
man.
You can only bet the over.
Because then there's other things like off to the side with like friends and family where you're working.
Well, you can do
deals
that
and shit
now.
like Yeah, but
Well, that's what like Shohei
you
got
get
in trouble
caught.
for, wasn't it? Well, I guess he
Well,
didn't get in trouble. They deported his translator or manager's ass back to Japan. But like,
Get ready. That guy's going to be living on a nice big-ass island in a nice big-ass house in about 4 or 5 years. Get ready.
yeah,
Yeah, Shohei's got a problem.
Free e-pay.
I mean, dude, I got to give it to his translator, though. I mean, to go down
the
like
ultimate fall man.
that, dude, I got to give him credit. There's no way he didn't know that.
Shohei's got to have some like. There's got to be some people in Japan that's willing to shoot for him. You know what I'm saying? If that translator was like, nah, man, his life had to be on the line there to be taking the fall for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's all I got. Unless you guys have anything more.
I think that's a great place.
No,
to end it.
I was just. I know, like we said on the thing that's coming up next is the schedule release on Thursday. Obviously, there's some games that I'm looking forward to this season. I know we all want to do a game together, but that's always an exciting time just because you can finally start planning shit. But it's going to be
It actually
interesting.
takes over my life. Like this schedule,
I know.
and people are like, "Why do you care about the schedule, brother?" I don't think you understand. Like, the dates are so important. I think it's stupid how they do it now. They do this huge release, and it's like,
Well, I
man,
think
it's all
it's-
the way in May.
I think they should do it in like fucking January.
Yeah.
Either that, or I think they should stop telling us who we're playing so far ahead of a time, because then it would make the
Yes.
schedule release. Because we know who we play at like the end of the season.
Oh, I know who.
No, you know your
know now.
opponents for like 3 years.
Yeah,
Like,
I was
I know
gonna
who
say-
the Ravens play for like 3 more years, but
I
just
know-
not the dates.
I know the Vikings are coming to Kansas City in 2027. Like I know that already.
Is it? It's not. Well, some of it depends on like where you place in the division, right? Isn't that where some of
Correct.
the
But
non-division?
Yes,
play
but
against
some of them are
divisions
already
rotate.
scheduled.
Yeah,
it
you know what
depends.
division. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But you would play
Usually, I think it's
you would
usually
just play
like
the lowest or the seed that matches
Correct.
you from that division.
So you know, like
you could be playing one of these 4 teams.
70. You probably know like 80% of
Yeah.
your opponents right now for the next 2 to 3 years.
I was gonna say, but then it gets kind of finalized at the end of the season. Because
Yep.
I remember seeing leaks for the Panthers, or not even the leaks, just like here's who we play next year, and it's like, okay, well that's lame.
I
How
think
about
I know that Baltimore plays Carolina in Carolina next, but I don't know if it's this year or next.
I think it's next year. It's not this year.
How about the first YouTube game?
I thought that was elite. I thought that was such a good
I think
idea.
it's fine. The Chargers.
Oh my
and,
god, dude! These
Chiefs.
boomers are taking over our country, dude. I posted.
What do you mean taking
that,
over? They've been in charge for
bro?
60
This
fucking
is our.
years.
They need to let it go, dude. This is our country now. The Gen Zers.
Well, I mean,
it's ours.
Let's be 100% fair though. We now
We
have
should
to
not
have-
let them vote either because they're not even. Dude, I have so many things about boomers. I think that they just need to retire and just have a good time.
Boomer take
but-
here. I shouldn't have to have fucking Amazon, Netflix,
I agree.
YouTube.
Oh, dude, hey,
Fubo.
I agree,
Disney
but YouTube.
Plus.
Can
It
we have
seems
this
like
thing?
YouTube was like the breaking point for everybody. I'm like, dude, this shit is
will say,
free.
YouTube
I know
TV is
you guys
goated.
have that shit on. I know you have that shit on your freaking iPad and your TV. Every TV comes pre-installed with YouTube.
This is literally my dad. He called me on a Thursday. How do I get this Amazon Prime game pulled up? I'm like, dude, just go to
Dude,
Amazon.
your dad's young.
Exactly. He's 45. And dude's be acting
Oh,
like... What?
and he has his glasses like,
That's
dude,
what I'm
Mark's.
saying. He's chalked. But imagine a 68-year-old. They're toast, brother. They're done.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know. My dad has YouTube TV and watches YouTube.
Dude, tell Frank
He never shuts
Tell
the
Frank
hell
to
up
pull
about
up.
YouTube.
I'll beat his ass.
Frank,
tell Frank
dude,
to
That's
Frank
the
knows how
only
to
thing about
navigate
teaching
stuff,
old
man.
people about YouTube because they think it's so fascinating.
Oh,
that
yeah.
they're like, dude, just pull it up on the YouTube. You don't know how to freaking change a tire. Just look it up on YouTube. Like, shut the hell up.
Tell Frank
Like,
to pull up
shut
and give me a kiss.
I will.
Yeah, it'd be crazy if they took all these streaming services and bundled it into one and called it cable.
Yeah, or you could do cable and internet and charge like $200 a month for it.
Dude,
Yeah.
what?
We don't need to post this.
Yeah.
Someone might
We
steal
should
our
try
ideas,
that.
bro. Someone might
Yeah.
steal our ideas. All
Yeah,
right,
but
boys.
not having cable boxes is elite. I will
That
say
is
that.
true.
Okay,
I do like
we're
that.
going to end it there. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Follow us on our socials. If you've gotten to this part, then you're probably insane. We will see you next week. Peace.